how did I make the hole disappear? Let me show you the steps I took to get back to this level. Hard to believe there was a hole there. There you go. G'day guys, Chris here, Midlife Carpentry. I'm back for another interesting installment. Today we're going to have a quick little chat about a little job that I've been doing and had to do over the holidays, because we are looking at selling the house we're in, the townhouse and stuff we're in. There was a boxy in here, or a wall-mounted aircon, or whatever you want to call them. I'll show you a few photos and stuff here. That was mounted inside the wall. Can be tricky to get out, as you can see from the little bit of footage and stuff we've got sitting up over here. I had a few little issues pulling it out, but yeah, got it out at the end of the day. Ended up having to go outside and pull it out that way. So I think ideally they're meant to come back into the room. I think that's the whole concept of them. But yeah, it was easy to pull out that way. Just 4 lugs both sides for knock-ins and stuff that I had to knock out, and away we go. So yeah, let me just go through the process of how I went about basically blocking the wall up, because it's a block wall, and then how I went through and did the plastering and stuff like that. So yeah, take a look guys, see what you reckon, and I'll give you a few little moments in the videos and stuff to explain what I'm doing and what's going on. Okay guys, have a look. So needless to say, there were some challenges in this setup. My original plan was to be able to remove the half-cut blocks, get them out of the way, the Besser blocks, and then put brand new ones in with the mortar and make it look like it belonged, like there wasn't any hole there or anything like that. But that went pear when I realized this is a core-filled wall, and any attempt that I would have made trying to remove blocks from it would have been time-consuming to the max. So I made the decision. I said, right, well, I can't do it that way. Let's still try and line up the mortar line so it looks good, and we'll blend in the bricks as best we can. And that's what I've done. So I've cut the bricks to size that I needed, so it lined up with the mortar lines, and then yeah, filled in accordingly, basically. A lot of mucking around. I haven't dealt with a lot of cement or mortar before, so yeah, as you can see, I was using my hands and just trying to basically, it was like a mud pie for a kid would do, you know. I was mucking around that extent, using my fingers and stuff to mold it and get it right. So look, it worked, it did the job. Probably could have done it better with a bit more flair or something, I don't know. But you know, you learn from these things, and that's the whole idea of it. That's why I gave it a crack, because worst case scenario, I was going to put a piece of tin up and put some knock-ins in it, a bit of sealant, and then that was it for external. So righto, so that's the external. As you saw, it is pretty damn close. So I was pretty happy with how that all come up. Like I said, it was a bit of a challenge being core-filled and stuff, but you get that. So internally, I'm going to go through that quickly with you guys, just how I did it. So obviously I had bare bricks exposed on the wall, so I was able to actually put some just adhesive on and glued up a piece of gyprock that suited the size of the hole that it needed. The biggest thing when installing this gyprock is I had to make sure as best as possible that it lined up level with the rest of the wall. So I basically got a straight edge up against the wall as I was putting the gyprock in, just to make sure that when I pressed the glue down, it was sitting where it needed to sit, to ensure it was level all the way along. So you don't want it sitting in too far, and you don't want it sitting too far out, because obviously it's going to be harder to plaster up. So that was the first step. Let that dry, and I knew it was rock solid. There was no hollow bits or anything in there. It was stuck to the wall well and truly, so that was good. That's positive. Next step was to go around. I basically went around with my first layer of a base coat 45 I use. It's a gyprock product, actual gyprock. So this is technically plasterboard or gypsum board, but I use gyprock is the preferred stuff that I use. You can borrow, bring out a brand, and there's lots of other guys that do it, but I use gyprock. So yeah, I use base coat 45 to start with. Now I've always had a lot of success with base coat. I've tried other stuff, pre-mixed stuff, all that sort of thing, and I've had issues with things cracking. Even with tape as well sometimes, but base coat 45 has always been sort of my staple for me, and I've had a lot of success with it. So you've just got to be able to understand that it's a 45-minute set time, so just be wary that, you know, bang it in, you know, get it mixed up, get your plaster on, and work with it for as long as you need to, but understand it'll set off 45 minutes. So I did a good patch of that. So I pushed that in, I fed that inside the cracks and the gaps and everything to make sure that plaster was everywhere it needed to be around that new piece and the existing pieces. All right. This is going to fill in your gaps. This is your backbone. This is your foundations for your gyprock and plaster, and you're blending into the rest of the wall. So it's very important that you get that as smooth as possible, and you make sure that any imperfections like levels and stuff like that, I think this top corner was out a little bit. You try and absorb that up where you can as well with a larger amount of gyprock and stuff. So build it out. The biggest thing with gyprock and plasterboard is you want to blend out your imperfections, if that kind of makes sense. So there's still a lump along the wall here. There's still humps and stuff for that on the wall, but at a glance, when you're looking at it, you can't see it. You know it blends in nicely. Okay, so that's the trick, is making sure that you put your first coat on first, then your second coat goes on to basically work on smoothing all the imperfections out. Okay, so you're trying to level things off. You're trying to hide any gaps and stuff that didn't work with the first set, any grooves that may have kicked, because when you've got a piece of paper caught on it when you're plastering over it, you've got a groove in the plaster. You're filling all that stuff up with base coat again. So you put 2 coats of base coat on. That's what I work with. And then after that, I'll assess it. Okay, I'll let that dry. I'll give it a light sand, a bit of a check, see how it looks, a bit of a scrape, see how it's looking, and assess whether, okay, do I need to put another base coat on, a really light layer of it, or can I step to top coat? And with this one, I was top coat. So once I'm comfortable with the second layer, that I'm happy with that majority of the imperfections are filled and the blending into the wall is really good, then I step into my top coat. And my top coat is a skim, and I don't muck around. I spread out a fair bit with my top coat. I let that blend in nice and wide, get it big, blend it in, smooth increments, smooth use of your trowel, your blades and stuff, and it come up mint. After a good sand, double check it again. If you need to add more top coat, add more top coat. And remember, top coat sands a lot easier than base coat. So base coat's your hardener, your hard stuff, your hard plaster, all right? And your top coat is the nice soft stuff that makes it pretty, all right? So I gave that a sand. Mickey Mouse, we're ready to go. Ready to undercoat, ready to get stuck in. Now, Chris's handy little tip for making things look like they blend in better. When you undercoat and do your 2 layers of paint, first of all, obviously your paint match is important. Got to get that. If you don't get your paint match, you're not going to blend in very well at all. Yeah, obviously. With your coats, if you can access a roller, use a roller. Like this was a roll wall, so it was a roller job. It wasn't really a paintbrush job. I think in the corners I did the paintbrush, but most of it was a roller. I used one of those little midi rollers, but I use probably one of the thicker ones that you can get. So the nap's a lot higher, if that kind of makes sense. So it's fluffier. It's a fluffier roller. And I use that for my undercoat, and I use that for my two finishing coats. The reason why is because when you're painting a house with a roller, you've got a roller that's fairly fluffy, and you normally put a good amount of paint on there as well, all right? And you get a texture. There's a texture to your walls. There really is. Like you feel your walls in any house, you normally feel a texture. Unless it's sprayed, it's a bit different, but you normally feel a texture. So by using a roller with a fluffier roller, you can actually mimic that texture, and it doesn't look so out of place then. So your paint almost blends in with the other paint. Because otherwise, if I was to use like a standard midi roller, like those 10 nap ones and stuff, little ones, they make it too smooth. Like they're great for doors and things like that, and make it look pretty like that. But if you're trying to blend in with an existing wall, I'd have a smooth patch here. I'd be able to feel it. It would be like super smooth, and it'll feel really weird. So my tip to you guys, whether you know it or not, I'm not sure, but if you're ever doing patchwork to stuff that's existing and you're trying to make it blend in, use a thicker midi roller. You will find that'll work so much better. So I'll show you a little pic. This is the sort of stuff, this is what I mean, a midi roller. So, hopefully that helped. As you can see, the walls come up mint. I'm genuinely happy with it. Externally come up a Mickey Mouse as well, which is even better. The fact that that's just disappeared, you don't even know it's there anymore. It did give me a bit of satisfaction inside that I got it right. So I did actually do a little job just to help out the little complex and stuff that we're living in. They had to put some water grate grains and stuff like that. they had to put some grates on some areas of sleepers and stuff. So that was cool, getting out there and helping them out with that. Obviously had all the gear, so it made it a lot easier. All right, guys, so that'll be it for me this week. I'm going to knock it off there. Thank you very much for watching. I genuinely appreciate it as always. If you haven't, hit the subscribe, hit me a like if you like this little video. Keep watching. I'm going to try and do some ute works probably next week as well. We'll see how we go. I'm back to work, so back to it. Guys, build on, legends. All the best. You have a cracker of a week. Get stuck in. I know I will be. I'm looking forward to getting back to work. How odd is that? Hey, it's such a weird feeling to know that you're keen to get stuck in. You're ready to start your new week. You're ready to start your new year. Yeah, bring it on. Bloody excited, guys. Yeah, definitely. Anyway, take care, hey. All the best. See you next time.